Colorado, where a sentencing hearing is underway for Jeremy Cooper, the second paramedic convicted in the death of Elijah McClain. Now, McClain was stopped by Aurora police the night of August 30th, 2019, after a report of someone suspicious. Now, police put McClain in a neck hold while paramedics injected him with a high dose of the powerful sedative ketamine. Cooper himself is now addressing the judge before he hands down his sentence. Now, Cooper is facing up to 3 years in prison, from probation up to 3 years in prison. So let's get back into court.
Jeremy Cooper, J-E-R-E-M-Y-C-O-O-P-E-R. As I stand here today, there's so much that I want to say, but I don't even know how or where to start or how to say it. There's so much I want to say to everyone, you, Your Honor, the jurors, all those who have been impacted by the events of August 19th, 2019. From Elijah to his family, to his friends, to everyone at AFR, everyone in the first responder community, and to my family, and I find myself just stuck. Without knowing where to begin or how to say everything, as I want to say, what I would like to do now is just talk to Elijah. Elijah, I am a man of faith. I know you are here among us, and you can hear me. I wish I wasn't standing here talking up to you, because that would mean you were here. There's so much I want to say to you. First, I want you to know how sorry I am that I couldn't save you. How beyond forever devastated I am that I didn't get to hear your last words. I want you to know that I would give anything to have a different outcome. Elijah, I never ever meant for anyone to hurt you. I was shook and shocked when I saw you slam down. I just wanted the ambulance to get there. I wanted to take over your care, and I was scared. I believed you needed immediate medical attention. I wanted to calm the situation down. I wanted my presence to be enough, and my training and my skills to be enough. I am so sorry collectively that we all failed you. If I could go back, if I could know more, if I could do things differently, God, how I would. Knowing everything I know, I just found myself sick, wanting to wake up from this nightmare. I wanted to save you. I want you to be here with us. I want you to be able to hug your mother, your siblings, and your friends. But I know that that isn't possible. I don't pretend to understand the why of all of this, but I can pledge you that when I spend my remaining balance of my earthly life trying to learn and grow and try to understand the why, and I will never forget you. Elijah, I want you to know the man I am and why I became a firefighter and paramedic. My sole dream in life was to help others. I was born and raised in southern Colorado in the San Luis Valley. My dad drove a truck until the loss of one of my brothers as a newborn. And other medical problems sent him to go to med school. He became a physician's assistant. He practiced medicine for over 25 years, and he was also a volunteer fireman. My mother was a dental assistant, then a stay-at-home mom. I was the oldest of 5 kids, 4 boys, and 1 girl in my family. I worked in some form or fashion since I was in grade school, doing everything from farming jobs, mowing yards, being a gas station attendant, working in a lumberyard, and even setting gravestones. In 1996, I took an EMT class with a college buddy and fell in love with the work. I worked at the local hospital-based ambulance company and volunteered with the fire department for 7 or 8 years on graveyard shifts in an emergency room on the ambulance. In order to earn my paramedic license, some coworkers and I drove 2 hours each way, 3 days a week to go to medic school. Because I was the closest town at that time that offered the paramedic program, and I was still working full time. In 2002, I was lucky enough to be hired on with the Aurora Fire Department. While working with the Aurora Fire Department, I had the privilege to work on 2 of the busiest engines for over 18 years. Although these shifts were incredibly busy and often led to sleepless nights and thousands of calls a year, it was fulfilling. I loved it. I was able to work for and for some of the best crews. I was able to push myself to better myself by working alongside the best for so many years. I was a field instructor for paramedics for 15 years. I was on the hazmat team and a tox medic for 15 years. I taught EMT basic and medic courses at Swedish Medical and Red Rocks Community College for 10 years. With the Aurora Fire Department, I was fortunate enough to be recognized by my peers for several awards. I was given the Distinguished Service Medal, 4 Emergency Operation Awards, a 2000 Flood Campaign Award, the 2012 Aurora Theater Shooting Award, Community Service Awards, and multiple Phoenix Awards. And through all these years, I never once had a complaint from a patient's family, or a community member. This is my core, and this is who I am. I have always strived to help everyone and everybody, to treat every person with care and compassion. I've never cared about the color of someone's skin, their religion or non-religion, their culture, their sexual identification, their gender, or their socioeconomic status. I chose to stay in Battalion 1 because this is the community I loved. It's where I went to church, and it's where I volunteered. I love being able to help people with different needs from so many different backgrounds. I never ever in my life wanted to harm anyone. I've had the tremendous privilege of bringing over a dozen babies into this world. I've had the heart-wrenching task of declaring loved ones dead. Or trying to save a loved one right next to the one I couldn't help. I live with these deaths. Some patients stick in my heart, and they had more than others. But every day I went to work, and my sole desire was to help. As this case unfolded, Elijah, I've heard people suggest I didn't help you because you were black. My God, that couldn't be further from the truth. It makes me sick to even think this. On this night, as I arrived on the scene, I believe I did what my training required. I thought I was helping you. It never entered my mind the color of your skin. It never entered my mind that by standing by your side, watching you while I waited for the ambulance and giving you ketamine, that I would hurt you. All I wanted to do was help. I will live with these decisions of this night, and I will live with your soul in my heart for the rest of my life. You are one of those patients that will be with me forever. You will be right alongside the mother and son I saw jump to their death from a burning building while they waited agonizingly for water. Alongside the mother and infant killed in an automobile accident where I couldn't tell the baby's injuries ended and where the mother's began due to their devastating injuries. Alongside the 2 infants I tried so hard to save from a burning building, losing one at the scene, while trying to save the other, only to learn that they had died the next day at the hospital. Alongside the little boy who chased a ball into the street, and I had untwisted his body from the drivetrain of the truck. Elijah, like you, these deaths are unbelievably heavy on my heart. I can't bring you back, but I can and will keep your spirit alive and moving forward. I will never stop trying to learn and improve to help others. Elijah, I want you to know that I have 3 young children. I met my wife later in life. She is a certified registered nurse anesthetist and a woman of faith, an incredible mother, and amazing wife. Together, through the incredible blessings from above, and the miracle and science of IVF, in our 40s, we welcomed 3 kids into the world. We, as a family, tried to get back to our community, to love and care for all. We volunteer, we chose professions of service. We raise our kids to be the best they can be and to always help others and to be kind. Elijah, everyone talks about you, talks about your gentleness, your forgiving nature, your kindness, and your love to your fellow people. I believe you are exactly the same type of person as I believe myself to be. I would have loved to have known you. I would have loved to be able to talk to you in person right now, but I know I can't. What I can do is continue to talk to you in my prayers. I will give my life trying to honor your spirit. I will do my best to try to unite our communities, to try and to continue to help and serve my fellow beings and try to spread love and light, not division and hate. My children will always know your name. I vow to spread kindness and generosity in your honor. With every simple wave, every hello, every person I've had the privilege to serve for the remainder of my life here on earth, I want to bring peace, harmony, compassion, and caring, and do this in your memory. Finally, when the time is right, I want to walk alongside those who loved you and hear more of your stories and how sorry I am for them as well. I want to bring our communities together. I want you to work to fix all the broken pieces of a system that went wrong on the night we met and be a part of change moving forward. I thank you. Thank you, sir.
We have an update in the historic hush money trial of former President Donald Trump inside a New York courtroom. Today, defense attorneys tried to poke holes in the testimony of state witness David Pecker. He is the former publisher of the National Enquirer who testified earlier this week that he would help suppress any harmful stories about Trump during the 2016 presidential campaign at the behest of Trump's people. Now, one of those stories was about Trump's affair with adult film star Stormy Daniels. Another witness, who was Trump's executive assistant for decades, testified that she maintained 2 contacts at the Trump Organization for Daniels and Karen McDougal, a former model actress who also allegedly had an affair with Trump before he was elected president. Now, Trump is accused of falsifying business records in order to cover up hush money paid to keep those stories out of the media. He faces 34 felony counts for falsifying those business records, and each carry a sentence of up to 4 years in prison. All right, we're going to take a break right now, folks. When we come back, we're going to hear the emotional testimony from Elijah McClain's mother. Keep it here on your front row seat to justice.
TV fans, you demanded it.
Here we go, do it.
So now you're getting more true crime at nighttime.
Oh my God, oh my God.
48 hours on Court TV. Tonight, 7/6 Central on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, the high-stakes death penalty trial of Chad Daybell. We'll take you inside the courtroom as we unpack today's key moments.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan. Tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Phone. Welcome back. Our coverage continues in the sentencing hearing of paramedic Jeremy Cooper in Colorado. He was convicted of criminally negligent homicide in the death of Elijah McClain. Elijah's mother is now addressing the court. Let's get inside that courtroom.
I am Elijah's mother and his present parent. I have stated this on numerous occasions because it is the truth. First, to address the previous comments. No one can say that they have a similarity to my son's murder if their son was not murdered by killer cops and firefighters. Where was the fire that night? Where was the fire emergency? Jeremy Cooper was a threat to my son and an accomplice to my son's murder on August 24th, 2019. We are not the same. Do not say anything to me or mention my son's name in my presence while you enable and support an evil, careless legacy of a delusional mindset. You cannot evoke my son's name to absolve you of your own sinful nature. You betray yourself and your attempts to disrespect me here today, like Jeremy Cooper's disrespectful lawyer. It all shows your culture will not change because you find no fault in your actions. Never forget, your people in your community has an unlawful beginning in my community. When the opportunity presents itself, a person's thoughts, words, and actions will always show the beast in that human. The lack of humanity in your comments are not a surprise at all. Eternal shame on you all. When I repeatedly looked at the videos of my son's murder by Aurora, Colorado's hired hands, I wondered why no one took the time to look within themselves to do the right thing. Instead, everyone there the night my son was murdered looked outside of themselves in order to follow the directions or inactions of others. No one looked within themselves to hear what my son was actually saying. Instead, they looked outside of themselves and committed their souls to the evil actions that caused my son's murder. Everyone there the night my son was murdered eagerly rushed down the road of corruption by their own egos and ignorance. They all failed the city of Aurora and every member in the communities of Colorado. I wondered what I would say today because I have already said so much. I have already experienced so much. And I am sure I still have much more to endure for my son, Elijah McClain, to rest in his power. Jeremy Cooper is the person that injected my son with the lethal dose of ketamine while my son laid on the ground unconscious from the brutal attacks of a bully with a badge. Jeremy Cooper followed the crowd of cowards and displayed his immorality through the lens of his own cluelessness. Before Jeremy Cooper injected the drug ketamine into my son's unconscious body, Jeremy Cooper did what he felt was best. He did nothing. Jeremy Cooper did not check for my son's pulse. Jeremy Cooper did not conduct a thorough examination to see if my son was breathing normally. Jeremy Cooper did not interact with my son or ask my son how he was doing under the weight of a monster. Jeremy Cooper was there for more than several minutes before my son said his last breaths. Jeremy Cooper heard my son talking and was there for my son's last words. But Jeremy Cooper just stood there like a drug dealer waiting for his sale. When did firefighters become drug dealers who are paid by the city governments to forcibly cause an unwanted overdose? Nothing Jeremy Cooper can say will bring back my son or remove my son's blood from his hands. I have seen nothing in Cooper that shows he regrets his actions, from his lies on video and his attempts to cover up being an accomplice to my son's murder to the lack of guilt in his eyes. The trials have been exhausting, but worth it, because I stand here for truth. I stand here for love. I stand here for light. I stand here for justice. And I stand here for my son, Elijah McClain. I am not saying that I am a better representative of what American values should be. But what I am saying is that America will never be what it could be because it does not look at all of its citizens as one race, the human race. Treating people how you feel they deserve to be treated is very different and the complete opposite of treating people how you yourself would want them to treat you. Again, I'm here to witness the sentencing for Jeremy Cooper and his participation in my son, Elijah McClain's murder. Human justice does not come anywhere close to what true accountability is. So I will continue to say, meditate, and pray for divine justice for my son, Elijah McClain. From my heart to my hands. Long live Elijah McClain, always and forever. Thank you, Your Honor.
So a very different view of the situation there from a mother who had to witness the death of her son on tape. Just really interesting and very well spoken. Let's bring in our guest. Joining us to discuss, joining me, retired NYPD Executive Corey Pegues is here in studio, and Federal Attorney Zach Hutchinson joins us as well. And Corey, I want to begin with you. Just want to get your reaction, particularly to, there were diametrically opposed statements there. We heard Jeremy Cooper before the break, and now we heard Mom speaking there in court, explaining she sees this situation very, very differently, obviously.
Yeah, it was powerful.
Yes, it was.
She was very well spoken, articulate, and she hit all her salient points that she was looking to do. Cooper, on the other hand, he had a great speech also, but there wasn't a lot of culpability. I mean, once you're convicted, you're convicted. you have to say it was a jury of my peers. I'm sorry, was this jury? But this was a jury,
yes, jury
right?
trial, yes, sir.
Yeah, so this jury of my peers found me convicted.
Yeah.
And you know you did it, so it is what it is. This is very powerful. I know the judge is taking that into hand.
Yeah, he'll have to take that into consideration. Zach, it's interesting because she talks about this system and you know, folks aren't taking true responsibility. I felt some of that in Jeremy Cooper's statement. I thought it was remorseful. I thought it was humble. But what I didn't hear from him is that he was accepting that a jury decided what he did was a crime. So I found that interesting, but I think she pointed that out as well. I want to get your reaction.
Yeah, I think he took the wrong approach. First of all, I mean, when you look at the facts of this case, and when you even compare it to some of the other, you know, similar circumstances, black men dying in custody, this to me seems like one of the worst, really. I mean, this guy is diminutive. He weighed 140 pounds. He was 5'5", and had no criminal record whatsoever. He apparently was dancing or doing something that was a little bit unusual. And when you read the statement that he made, which apparently is on the tape, of him pleading for his life, it's hard not to even come to tears. And this guy was part of that. And the way he plays it out, and I understand he's on the job and he's doing his task as a EMT, but only one person needed to stand up and say, this is wrong, and stop it. And he didn't do that, and he was complicit in this. And it's an absolute tragedy. If that was my son, I would be as angry as his mom, and I would be furious at the way he refused to take culpability in the way that his statements were read. Yeah. So that's the way I would look at it. I mean, that's the way I feel about this particular sentencing hearing. And in a sentencing hearing, you should be just throwing yourself at the mercy of the court, not trying to mitigate and explain. And that's what I felt like his statement did, really.
Absolutely. Usually that doesn't go over well with judges. But I can say this, as a result of what happened here, if you want to look at the bright side, there have been changes. Paramedics can't use ketamine in situations where they think excited delirium is involved. Police officers now have a duty in Colorado to stop other officers who they think are doing something wrong. Protocols for the use of force have changed as well. Chokeholds have been outlawed. So there have been positive changes. What do you think, Corey? What might the judge do when it comes to the sentencing here? He's facing from probation to 3 years.
I think, remember, the other one got a year and a half, so at a minimum, he's going to be in that neighborhood. And he might throw the book on it, but Zach brought up a very good point, and I want America to know this. In any of these situations where somebody dies at the hand of a police officer, there's only one person that's getting $100,000 worth of training not to kill somebody. And these are the cops that, you know, these are the cops that have the training. Like Zach said, one person just said, hey, come on, we got 5'5", 140 pounds.
Yes.
And they're saying, you heard the body cam officer said he tried to do a push-up with 3 of us on his back. Are you kidding me?
Right, yeah. And let's not forget, a crime was in fact committed here. Yes. And I don't doubt Jeremy Cooper's a great guy, but a jury decided a crime was committed. All right, folks, we do need to take a break. When we come back, we're going to hear from the judge next. So keep it here on your front row seat to justice. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. The sentencing hearing for the second paramedic convicted in the death of Elijah McClain is continuing. Jeremy Cooper was convicted of criminally negligent homicide for injecting McClain with the powerful sedative ketamine. The judge is now beginning his sentencing. Let's get into court.
Deliberation, intentionally, knowingly, or even recklessly. The verdict reflects the jury found that Mr. Cooper failed to perceive the substantial and unjustifiable risk that Elijah McClain would die, and in doing so, grossly deviated from the standard of care that any person would employ in this situation. The character and rehabilitative potential of the offender. Here, based upon what I've heard today from the friends and family of Mr. Cooper, and again, there were scores of letters, I have no doubt that Mr. Cooper's general character is of a good quality. The court, based upon the overall circumstances, finds that the rehabilitative potential to really be largely irrelevant in this situation. There were aggravating circumstances, and some of them were articulated by Mr. Sladauer, and certainly an aggravating circumstance in any sort of crime or offense is the death of an individual who really fell into a situation that was no fault of his own. The mitigating circumstances the court must look at include, the court does believe that Mr. Cooper is contrite. He has no criminal history. This is his first brush with the justice system. And further, that he has dedicated his life to helping other people, but those efforts weren't terribly apparent on the night of August 24th. The statutory factors the court must look to are in 18-1102.5 of the Colorado Revised Statutes. That's to punish a convicted offender by assuring the imposition of a sentence that's deserved in relation to the seriousness of the offense. Under subsection B of that same statute, it recognizes that part of these goals are to assure the fair and consistent treatment of all convictors, all folks convicted by eliminating unjustified disparity in sentencing and providing fair warning of the nature of the sentence to be imposed and establishing fair procedures for the imposition of sentences. Interestingly, in the court, the Department of Corrections used to, in their yearly reports, kind of have a nice published handout, I suppose, for the legislators so they could figure out what was going on. But I always took a look at it before I imposed a sentence. Unfortunately, they've kind of lumped a whole bunch of offenses together, and it's not much of a help for a judicial officer to try to find sentences in similar situations. I did my best. And in 2023, there were a couple sentences handed out for criminally negligent homicide in the state of Colorado. In Montezuma County, there was a case where it was a gentleman who was hunting and shot and killed another hunter who was sentenced to 90 days in jail. Another hunter with a bow this time in Garfield County who was sentenced to 6 months in the county jail. Going back a few decades, and we discussed this case during the trial, Nathan Hall, as I believe his name was, and that was in Summit County. He was an expert skier who was out of control and killed another skier while he had alcohol and marijuana in his system. He was sentenced to 90 days in jail. With, I suppose, some irony, a law enforcement officer, and I'm forgetting his name, it's Eduardo Landeros, was, I don't know if he was a rookie, but he's mighty close to it, a police officer who was responding to a non-emergency call in the evening in a relatively busy neighborhood, going nearly 100 miles an hour with no lights and no siren. That ended in the death of an individual who had nothing to do with the call. Mr. Landeros was sentenced to 1.5 years in the Colorado Department of Corrections. The next one is somewhat shocking to the court. And it's, I suppose there are a few parallels, but the situation in this case was a physician, Dr. Kim, who his patient was put under anesthesia for a cosmetic surgery. That patient, who was 18 years of age, became non-responsive, and Dr. Kim instructed his staff for a period of 5 hours not to tell anybody. Eventually, after 5 hours, Dr. Kim figured out somebody better be called so this young woman can be taken to the emergency room, where she lived in a vegetative state for a period of time before she died. Dr. Kim was sentenced for the count of attempted reckless.
All right, we have a quick programming note for folks coming up this weekend. A new special on Court TV that explores the evidence against Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen. We talk exclusively with his former lead defense attorney and a best friend of the victims. Watch The Delphi Murders, the case against Richard Allen. That premieres on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on Court TV. You do not want to miss that. But up next, we take you back to court in the sentencing hearing of Jeremy Cooper. The judge issues his sentence. That's next. So keep it here on Court TV.
One of the most successful true crime TV shows ever.
This is crazy.
Now has a new home on America's original true crime obsession, 48 Hours on Court TV. Coming up next on Court TV.
Tonight, on closing arguments, the high-stakes death penalty trial of Chad Daybell. We'll take you inside the courtroom as we unpack today's key moments.
Closing arguments with Vinny Politan tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
We're wrapping up the sentencing hearing for paramedic Jeremy Cooper, so let's get you back into court now for the judge's sentencing of Jeremy Cooper.
I'm sure there are circumstances that the court is unaware of, but Dr. Kim's sentence was 15 days, which, again, I'm sure there are other circumstances that were much different than what the court saw in this case. Under C, to prevent and promote respect for the law by providing effective deterrence to others who are likely to commit similar offenses. And I'll take that into consideration. There's certainly some relevance. To promote rehabilitation by encouraging programs, correctional programs actually, that elicit the voluntary cooperation and participation of convicted offenders. As the court mentioned earlier, the court does not see rehabilitation really as an issue in this case. E, to select a sentence length, and a level of supervision that addresses the offender's individualized or individual characteristics and reduces the potential that the offender will engage in criminal conduct after completing the sentence. Here, looking at the individual characteristics of Mr. Cooper, the court would find that the potential for future criminal conduct is really not a factor the court needs to consider in this case. The next factor, under subsection F, to promote acceptance of responsibility and accountability by offenders and to provide restoration and healing for victims and the community while attempting to reduce recidivism, which again, the court does not see as an issue here. But other than recidivism, there are factors in subsection F that the court must weigh and consider in this case. Somewhat unusual after being on the bench for 18 years, and then criminal for at least half or more of that, and being faced with a situation where you have somebody who has really dedicated his life to helping other people, and yet being involved in a case of this nature where a young man died for really no reason. And at least from the courts listening to the numerous experts from both sides who testified in this case, it occurs to the court that it didn't have to happen. It could have turned out much differently. In this case, the court, in weighing all of those factors, is going to impose the following sentence. The court's going to impose a 4-year probationary sentence. As a determined condition of that probationary sentence, Mr. Cooper will serve 14 months in a work release program he will complete 100 hours of useful public service. The court will stay the sentence in this case until June 7th. That should give Mr. Cooper plenty of time to make arrangements that, if possible, he will be able to continue his employment. That's going to be the sentence and the judgment of the court.
Your Honor, we had discussed.
All right, so there it is. Jeremy Cooper gets 4 years probation. 14 will be served on a work release program, and then he has to serve 100 hours of community service. The judge basically saying he considered that rehab is not necessarily an issue here, the potential for reoffending not an issue here, but he also wanted to take into account the healing for the victims and the community. Let's bring back in our guest. Joining us to discuss, retired NYPD Executive Corey Pegues and Federal Attorney Zach Hutchinson. All right, Corey, I want to start with you and get your reaction to the judge's decision.
Feel sorry for the mother.
Yeah.
No jail time at all. I mean, he put out a litany of cases, 90 days, 6 months, 90 days, year and a half. It's just a sad day for his mom. And on the flip side, I guess he did get something, but I don't think it was justice for Elijah McClain's mother.
Yeah, that's fair, and I'm sure the family...
He taught himself to play the piano.
Yes.
He was very quiet.
Yes.
You know, like Jack said, he just was a little kid.
Yeah.
And to have his life taken away from him with trained professionals there, and there's really no culpability, it's a sad day. But that's our criminal justice system.
That is our criminal justice system. That's his mom there. You see in our monitor. Zach, I want to get your reaction to the sentence of 4 years probation, 14 months of work release, 100 hours of community service for Jeremy Cooper.
I think it's really lenient, and I agree that a custodial sentence was warranted here. The individual died for no reason, and the circumstances that he died in, I think, are really, that's where you contextualize Cooper's conduct, because the situation is so outrageous, and to have him, who was this, he was a key and crucial person in that whole transaction, to not have a custodial sentence that does seem extremely lenient, and I'm sure the mother is absolutely furious about this.
Yeah.
Let's
look at the final tally quickly of what basically you had 3 officers who faced trials. You had 2 paramedics. So what amounted to justice for Elijah McClain in this case? Essentially, 2 of the officers were acquitted. It was a split verdict in one trial with Randy Rodema and Jason Rosenblatt. Rodema found guilty of criminally negligent homicide, 3rd-degree assault. He was sentenced to 14 months in jail that could be served as work release there. Rosenblatt found not guilty. The second trial for one of the other officers, Officer Nathan Woodyard, he was acquitted on all charges, so nothing there. Now we have the 3rd trial. This involved the paramedics in the case. Now we know paramedics Jeremy Cooper, Peter Kusiniak, convicted of criminally negligent homicide. Now, Peter Kusiniak was also convicted of 2nd-degree assault for administering drugs without consent. That had a mandatory sentence of 5 years in prison, so he was sentenced to that to run concurrent with 14 months for the criminally negligent homicide. Cooper here, obviously, receives probation. This is what amounts to justice. The mom, Corey, has lamented the idea that all of these guys got the minimum in these situations. Even the 5 years was the minimum for that particular charge, and for her, I'm sure, it doesn't feel like justice.
Yeah, and so there's a monkey in the room too, all right? Here's another young black man killed at the hands of the cops. And so this is why we have such a discord in the black and brown community with the police and the community, and handing down a sentence like this, because our eyes don't lie. Like, you can't tell me that this did not happen. We've seen it with our eyes, and to have no justice at all, we have to do something about this criminal justice system. Like, this is just not fair. Like Zach said, no custodial, nothing, 6 months, a year, something. It's bad.
Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough. And quite frankly, without the George Floyd incident, there might not have ever been charges at all in this case to anyone involved. All right. Thanks to Zach Hutchinson for joining us. Corey Pegues, always a pleasure to have you in the show.